Hello, everybody, and welcome back to James' House of Rock. We are back for a season 4. It's utterly amazing that we've made it this far. Today, we have our wonderful guest, Greyhound, with us here in the studio. He is a local rapper from the Boston area, and we might as well just jump right into the questions then.
Perfect.
What got you started into music?
That's an interesting question. So I see you have a Green Day CD.
Yeah.
When I was about 11 or 12, I was really into Green Day. I'm still a big fan, but they were like the first concert I went to. I picked up the bass guitar when I was 11 because I was really so interested in like that kind of music. I listened to them from the time I was 8. I actually used to play the cello too, so there's kind of some scattered stuff. Like music has always been a big part of my life. I come from a musical background, a musical family. So I think that they're kind of the reason I really picked up the bass guitar and got into music. I was gonna like start a band with my friends, you know, when I was 12. I said all this stuff, but shortly after that, when I was about 12, I started getting into hip hop, right between 6th and 7th grade, and really just took an ear to it. It really spoke to me. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Where did your stage name Greyhound come from? What's the story behind that?
It's interesting. I haven't been asked that on camera before. I've been asked that. So I just think it has a nice ring to it, I will say that. But I believe part of what the reason behind it is I can rap really fast, and greyhounds are racing dogs.
Okay.
It's funny though, because I don't want being the fast rapper to be my whole image. You know what I mean? I can if I'm interested in doing it, but that's really where it comes from. And like the bus travels from state to state, it goes all over the place, and that's my goal, is to be, known nationwide, internationally. You know, so
that's actually that's really cool. Actually,
yeah.
I like the story behind that. Yeah. When you do get into like writing your songs, what would be your process behind that? Where do the lyrics come from? Like, is there a special thing you have to do?
Interesting. Yeah, it really depends. You know, lately, so I guess I'll say like I kind of started searching beats on YouTube and stuff, buying beats from YouTube producers or Instagram producers, whatever, and then having a beat and then kind of thinking about the mood that song gives me and then writing something to that. I have started where I write the lyrics first and then I search for the beat that's going to match it.
Yeah.
But lately what I've been doing is I've been working with this producer very closely named Yeti.
Okay.
And we've been building beats together. I've been doing a lot of the melodies, and he's been, putting his magic on it, his drums and stuff. And so I'm like, it's kind of the same thing. I hear the beat once it's done or once most of it's there, and I think of what to write about. But I honestly find that the better content, the more meaningful content comes when I think of a song concept first. And then I think of how's this going to sound. It's kind of like, there can be songs that are just like fun and stuff that come up on the spot. Music is so creative, but if I start with an idea and then kind of move and think, start with the end in mind and then go back to the beginning, that does help me write more meaningful stuff.
So I know you've done a couple, for lack of a better word, like character songs. Like you have John Wick and Tom Brady.
I do.
How do you go about doing stuff like that when you know you want to write about like almost a specific person or character?
Well, that's interesting. I actually was just working on something that's along those lines. I won't say too much because it won't be out for a little while. But John Wick. I don't know where. I don't remember exactly why I wanted to write a song about John Wick. I just think that I thought of certain punchlines that can fit within like stuff. It wasn't even just about John Wick. I had things that are more just about Keanu Reeves, but I like those movies. I'm big into action movies and stuff. So that's kind of with John Wick. Tom Brady, I'm a Patriots fan, and I don't know. I have an easy time like thinking of punchlines and stuff if I can look into someone or if I know something about someone already and I can just reference things they've done. And I know that people who are Patriots fans, for example, are going to like that Tom Brady song, or people who like Keanu Reeves are going to like the John Wick song. So.
Yeah, that does make total sense. So you just had your first album come out. It's been a little bit now, but
a few months anyway.
Yeah. Any like cool stories about the recording of Out of the Shadows, or like?
I guess it was done almost entirely in my bedroom.
Okay.
Inside of my closet. I set up this little makeshift booth. Even now, I could do a much better job, to be honest, but it came out okay. The sound quality, I'm happy with like the lyrical content and stuff, but actually the Hide in the Light track, I did that in someone else's basement, downstairs in the basement. I was recording with this guy, but he turned out, a friend of mine referred me to him. I knew a kid who was in a metal band, and he referred me to him, and the guy just said, I have no interest in working with this. Like a few days after, he said, I haven't even opened it. He's like, so I won't charge you for the recording. I'll send you all the files. And I'm like, all right. So that was actually very nice.
Yeah.
To get that. It's kind of like a once in a.
At the very least, he didn't charge you.
Yeah. So I recorded some more stuff with him, mostly just like remixes. But so Hide in the Light was done there. It was all mixed and mastered by the same guy. But so I knew someone from high school who mixed and mastered it for me, and I did it all in my bedroom. And I've learned a lot. Like I didn't know exactly how to make sure things weren't peaking and stuff like that, or the levels were consistent. But he made it sound good. I think being just by myself, that gave me the opportunity to just keep getting certain takes and finding, it is good to have a second perspective though, which is really what I've been doing now, is working with a producer, and he's been engineering me and recording me too. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So you've been performing a lot lately.
I have,
obviously, your show count has been ramping up over the last few months. In your travels, what have been your favorite and least favorite venues to perform at so far? Who's been the nicest? Who has the best acoustics? That kind of stuff.
Well, I was just at Right Turn, which is in Watertown, on Saturday. It was a smaller show, but I really liked the acoustics there. I've done a lot of open mics there and stuff in the past before I started doing my own shows.
Yeah.
And I really like the acoustics there. You can hear everything. It's very clear. It's kind of small. I mean, it's designed for it's not really designed for hip hop gigs. It's more designed for acoustic guitar gigs and stuff. But that being the case, you can hear all the words and stuff like that. And I think it's more treble. Okay. So it's not exactly for example, I've played the Middle East downstairs, and I've had a good time doing that. But the bass overpowers. For me, I'm someone that I want you to hear what I'm saying when I rap. And that's the kind of music I make, is where I have lyrics that mean something, and I want people to hear it. So when I'm at somewhere like that, I mean, I do have those, Tom Brady songs that are also just let's get the show hyped. But yeah, so those are probably the two venues I'd say are my favorite, based on different things. So the Middle East is the big crowd and the engagement, the rowdiness of it and stuff like that. And then Right Turn is the sound quality.
All right. Yeah, what about least? You have to have one that you hate.
I don't know. I don't really want to throw shade at anybody. Let me think.
You don't have to call out anybody directly if you don't want to any names or anything. But
I'm just trying to think.
At the very least.
I don't know if I've really had any. I mean, I've definitely had bad experiences with promoters. Don't get me wrong. Venues though, there's actually a spot I did in Worcester that's never really had a very good turnout. And I think one thing, I don't want to throw shade at anything, I've always meet people at shows and stuff. I think one thing I'm kind of coming to realize is I've done so many shows, and I think at one point it does become about the quality. Okay, I might be doing shows, 4 or 5 nights a week and playing for 10 people, which, that's part of the grind. But at some point, it's should I be wearing myself thin, or should I be only doing a show in Boston, in the Boston area, every few months, so that all of the people who want to see me are going to come to that same show, versus if I have 10 shows lined up, maybe 3 people want to see me come to this one, 3 people want to see me go to that one, and then it's just a small crowd each time, versus me performing for a big crowd, and stuff like that.
Any cool things happen to you? Any bad things happen to you while you're touring around all these different venues? Are there any particular stories that stand out?
I mean, definitely promoters are I don't know if anything cool. I've met people have, people I look up to, rappers and stuff, have told me, you killed that shit, and that, and excuse my language, but yeah, they've said, you killed that, and that's always a good feeling when, someone that you respect and who's very seasoned with their craft, gives you a compliment. Bad experiences just with promoters usually. Being for example, if I'm on a show, a showcase with 10 local artists, and you tell me I'm going at one time, I should be going at that time, or at least I should be in that
Yeah.
order. I know hip-hop shows run late, but I should at least be going at that spot
Yeah.
versus being moved around. And I should know that at least a few days beforehand, instead of finding out like what's happened with a certain promoters. I've arrived at the venue. They didn't even know the order until I think the venue printed it for them or something, and then they just changed it around a bunch anyways. So.
I know there's one in particular, but just in case any of them are watching, you might not want to say them, but I know we've talked about one particular promoter that kind of leads into this next question. What motivated you to start Bars Over Bars? Because I know you're working with one of our previous guests, actually, Hero, in promoting your own shows now. What motivated you guys to start that?
Well, interesting. So Hero had a bad experience with a promoter that we were both on a show for. So basically the guy wanted he wanted to tell us which of our songs we were going to play. So he was going to go through like a few of our songs. Yeah. And, you know, I guess the show before that, we had done one with him. People didn't respect the set lengths and stuff like that. So he didn't take well to that. And to be honest, I wasn't thrilled about it either. But I was like, you know what, I'll still do it. I think I do really respect him standing up for like the art and stuff. And so he's like, yo, I'm not doing this, you know, let me pick the songs. And the guy's like, you know, go through your own show. So,
that's exactly
we
what
had talked about it before. We had talked about it and stuff, and we're like, you know, we might as well do it. He had a project coming out soon, which is out now.
The Maximum Carnage,
Yeah, so he scheduled an album release, and then we had a song called Bars Over Bars on that project with Young Steen. And so we're like, that just seemed like a name that kind of made sense, because we do focus. We won't only book like lyrical artists, quote unquote, but we do both place a lot of value on lyricism and stuff like that. So yeah, and bad experiences with promoters, man. Like you said, like I wouldn't be opposed to saying that promoter's name. I just don't want to give them any publicity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't care if they know what I think about them. They're
That's
the one
fair.
that, you know. So, but yeah, I don't need to bring that problem into here.
So how has Bars Over Bars been going? For the viewers that don't know, Bars Over Bars is a concert promotion and just general music brand started by our guest here, Greyhound, and previous guest, Hero, that's been throwing shows across Massachusetts. There'll be more information on that on our More Information tab on the website. But how has business been for Bars Over Bars so far?
It's been good. So we've actually ventured outside of Massachusetts. So far, we've only gone to New Hampshire. We're going to Rhode Island later this month. So we're starting in New England. We're trying to spread, you know, nationwide. But so we're going to kind of start with New England right now. We've done Mass, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Maine. We've got in May. We're working on Vermont, and then we're going to try to get into New York, Jersey, and just kind of some of these other spots.
Just spread.
Yeah, and just kind of get our face around, because I want to put more effort into doing those shows versus just Mass, because people know who we are in Boston by now. But it's been good. I think New Hampshire, there's a lot of love out there. I never realized that. I guess Hero's done a bunch of shows out there. That was the first one I'd done, and it's different because I've done a lot of local shows in Boston where people come for one artist and they only stay for that one artist, versus like when I did the New Hampshire show, people stayed the whole time for the most part. And we also kind of lined it up strategically. Like if we knew there were two artists who were friends that might have had the same people coming together, we would space them out. We'd put one person in between them, and that way, like people would stay for a little longer. But people didn't even leave until the end anyway, so it was dope.
That's pretty cool. So you already kind of talked about what the goals of Bars Over Bars are, or Bars Over Bars is. What's your personal goals as a musician? I
mean, that's an interesting question, and I think one that a lot of artists don't look at. A lot of people say, well, I want to blow up, or I want this. And I don't think anyone needs necessarily, like, it's hard to know exactly. For me, I'd like to be like, very well known, but to me what's important is making a living off my music and having a dedicated fan base. Those are two things. And those are kind of general still. Like, it's like, okay, well, do you want to be like, on like Drake's level, or do you want to be like one of the smaller guys kind of? I mean, honestly, it'd be great to be on that level, to be like on Drake's level. Is that realistic? Maybe not. So
I mean, shoot for anything.
Exactly. So like, you know, because I look at a lot of guys, I think there is value in hit records, but I listen to J. Cole a lot, and he had an interview, I believe, or I don't remember exactly where, but he did say that, like, it's not always about hit records, it's about longevity. Like, you know, A$AP Rocky, I saw something he recently said he hasn't had a top 40 since 2013, but it's like people still know who he is because the internet, you don't really need that anymore. You can still go viral on the YouTube, and you don't need to be, you know, on a major label necessarily. But at this point in my career, I'm not dissing that route. You know, I think a lot of people end up dissing labels and stuff. So, because I don't even know exactly what I want to do, you know, yet. But I do want to be well known and have a dedicated fan base that, like, I can go to cities and tour. And it would be dope to be on, like, Drake's level, but I do want to consider that if I was on that kind of level, I couldn't like go to, like, get food somewhere, you know, without like being stormed. So
so you've been releasing a lot of songs lately, a lot of singles and everything. Can we expect a second album anytime soon, or are you going to stick with the single style?
I can't really comment on that right now.
Okay. We won't make you reveal too much. When are some of your next tour dates that we can look for? You can kind of list a few of them off. I'll put more on the website.
Of course, So today is the 10th, so on the 12th, in 2 days, I'll be at Dorchester Art Project with Bars Over Bars. Hero, Amir Max, Marcini, K-By, Youngstein, COJ, IMAX.
That's the Blip in Time show, right?
Yes, and then in Swain, and then there's definitely one more. I feel bad for forgetting somebody. How am I forgetting somebody? It's slipping my mind, man. I forget. But I'll be there on the 12th, and then I'll be in Rhode Island on the 27th. That will be on my Instagram and on Bars Over Bars as well. And then next month we're doing a show at Dorchester Art Project again, and then I have a show in Rhode Island at the end of the month. And I think I'm leaving some out. It's hard because I usually just focus on the next one coming up, and then I start putting all my effort into the next one after that.
So you don't have to worry too much about it. I'll post any tour dates and of course the Bars Over Bars Instagram, where you can find all that information on the More Information tab on the James' House of Rock website. Again, this will be on the More Information tab, but where can people find you in the meantime?
You can find me on all social media at It's the Greyhound. I'm primarily on Instagram and Facebook. You know, facebook.com/itsthegreyhound, Instagram at It's the Greyhound. On all streaming platforms, Greyhound. You know, I have my project Out of the Shadows. I've put out some singles. I'm on YouTube. Greyhound, Out of Time was the last video I dropped featuring Ren Thomas. I got another video coming at the end of this month. I'm actually about to shoot that right after this, interestingly enough.
Great.
But that's where you can find me.
All right, awesome. And as previously mentioned a few times now, all of that will be on the More Information tab on the James' House of Rock website. Well, so we've reached the end of our interview. Thank you very much for coming out today for the James' House of Rock. We unfortunately, for at least this episode of the season, don't have a game to play with the contestant this time due to a few scheduling snafus with production and all that. It will resume with a new fun game starting the next couple episodes. You guys will see. It'll be less competitive this time, so it's okay. Greyhound isn't completely left out of the race here. But in the meantime, we'll be going to the Artist Spotlight. Today we're looking at the band Fun. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first Artist Spotlight of Season 4. Today we're talking about the band Fun. Formed in 2008 in New York City with members Nate Roos, Andrew Dost, and Jack Antonoff. The members met through Nate's former band, The Format, which had toured with Andrew as well as Jack's former band, Steel Train. Their first song, Benson Hedges, was made available through Spin Magazine. It was the first song recorded as a band as Fun. And then followed by their first album, which was Aim and Ignite, which was released in 2009 with lead single, At Least I'm Not As Sad As I Used to Be, with pretty positive reviews. After a successful tour with Jack's Mannequin, the band announced that they had signed to the very popular pop-punk label Fueled by Ramen. And their second album, Some Nights, was released in 2012 to critical acclaim, with the lead single being We Are Young, as well as the singles Why Am I the One, Some Night, and Carry On. Since the release of that album, the band has gone on hiatus, stating that they wanted to explore new pathways and would regroup when they felt that they were ready. In the meantime, Nate Roos has gone on to feature in a couple of songs, as well as form Nate Roos and the band Romantic, which released their first and only album to date, Grand Romantic. Jack has formed the one-man band Bleachers, which is most well known for their songs Roller Coaster and I Want to Get Better. And Andrew is currently scoring films in Hollywood. So the three of them are definitely still on their strides when it comes to their individual solo careers, but I would personally really like to see Fun come back together, because Some Nights is a very innovative album of just, you can tell, a bunch of creative, all over the place music that is awesome. I love Fun a lot, and I definitely suggest, if you somehow haven't heard any of their songs, to check out Some Nights. This has been the Artist Spotlight for Fun. Since we don't have a game segment for this particular episode, we will be jumping probably right to Album Review Corner, which will be on Father of All by Green Day. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the first Album Review Corner of Season 4. Today we are talking about Father of All, the newest album by Green Day. So it was just released last February with the lead singles Meet Me on the Roof, Father of All, and Oh Yeah, as well as Fire Ready Aim. So far I've listened to the album a ton of times. I bought this album day one because I'm a huge Green Day fan, as even Greyhound mentioned. He's a huge Green Day fan. I like the album as a whole. It's a cool experience, but I do feel like it's lacking in a couple of areas. There are a few songs that don't quite stand out as much as most Green Day songs tend to. And one of my biggest issues with the album is the length. So it is only 26 minutes long, which for an album, that's basically an EP at that point, a slightly long EP. And I feel like it's really easy to listen to the album a bunch, but at the same time, it gets very repetitive because it pales in comparison to something like 21st Century Breakdown, which was over an hour long on its final release. So it's a little weird to see the contrast between, usually there are these big cinematic albums back to this 26-minute long standard rock and roll album. That being said, the actual contents of the music, they went with like a modern 50s aesthetic to the music, and I actually really like that style because it's fun to see 50s style rock and roll done on modern equipment. I would definitely say to check it out, especially if you're a longtime fan of Green Day. Listen to it on Spotify. Maybe you don't need to buy the CD. I would probably give this album a solid 3 out of 5. It's a right down the middle kind of thing. I know this album has had a lot of fans indecisive about, oh, Green Day's gone pop, or this is the same thing Green Day's always done. I tend to lay right down the middle of that. This is definitely not a pop album, but it does have more pop influence to it. So yes, 3 out of 5. I thought it was a greatly average album. And so we've reached the end of our show as well. Thank you guys all for watching James's House of Rock. We will be back with a lot more fun and a lot of cool things this coming season, including a lot of separate projects aside from the show. You can hear more about that on our social medias at James House of Rock, or on our website, jameshouseofrock.weebly.com. If you guys are watching on YouTube, that'll all be in the description below. If you guys are watching on TV, it should be somewhere here on the screen just to visualize it. And if you wanted to learn anything more about this, anything in this episode, it'll be on the More Information tab on the James's House of Rock website, as well as links to listen to this album and fun. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.